What's going on, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and I'm back with another DM's Guild Spotlight. First, couple things up front. I'm sorry to the folks that I promised I would do these for. I have several that I'm working on at the moment, so be on the lookout for more of these coming out if this is something you guys like. To the person whose name's escaped me on YouTube, who's asking me to do more adventure reviews, yes, I'm going to get to more adventure reviews on the DM's Guild. To that point, if you are a DM's Guild author and you write modules and adventures, there's actually a seeming want for people to do review of those so they can know whether or not they're drag and drop and they can use them in their campaign and stuff. So get at me with those if you want me to review them. But all that being said, I am reviewing Faiths of the Forgotten Realms. Up front, I was gifted this to do a review of, and I had meant to do it before the release, but something pretty damn cool. It is the #1 most popular title on the DM's Guild at the moment. So if we click on it right here, we can see that you can get it for PDF for $15, and I realize that that's a lot, but folks, you will not be disappointed. This document is 200 pages long, and it is ripe with information for faithful characters in 5th edition. And when I say faithful, I mean those who are clerics, paladins, and ones who worship a divine being. You can also pick this up in hardcover, premium heavyweight for $40, standard heavyweight for $27. The options are all listed here. And you can see it's already got 5 ratings, all of which are 5 stars. And I'll just give you the quick rundown. 50 cleric domains, 50 paladin oaths, 2 druid circles, 1 ranger archetype, 176 new spells, 28 holy texts, 18 magic items, and 13 artifacts. You can see right here a whole bunch of preview stuff for you to take a look at. And it is not to the point where people have asked here, is this book considered canon in the published WotC Forgotten Realms setting? Sadly, I'm going to guess if we scroll down, because it said, thank you for your interest. Alex answers this same question asked by Caleb below. So let's try to find Caleb here. Where is he at? Caleb. We use canon lore and didn't add new fluff to the deities. Most of the holidays can be found easily online. The archetypes are original works, and converted spells are obviously new content. The holy text chapter, though, presented in older editions aren't mentioned in any common online source I checked. And the magic items and artifacts either didn't have stats or they were from older editions. So we have this, and you can see that there are 2 reviews, both of which are 5 stars. So I have a copy of the book right here. Oops, right here. So I asked what I was able to share with you guys, and I wasn't really given any things that I could not share. But as per usual, I don't want to give you guys everything for free, because that will that will disenchant you to go purchase it. Also, this is 200 pages. This video would be 4 hours if I went through everything. So I'm going to touch on some highlights here, some stuff at the beginning, and then some of my favorites, and we'll go from there. So, thank you to Alex Clippinger, who was the one who sent this to me, so thank you for that. So this is from Dragon Rock Games. You see, was that Pyromaniac Press. Here's the table of contents, and I did want to read a little bit about the intro, because I feel like that's important. So, Dungeons & Dragons is possessed to be far kinder to the faithful classes in recent years. In 5th edition, Paladins have strayed from rigid lawful good and certain faith to more flexible. Clerics continue to enjoy varied domains. Something's missing. If the game is kinder to these faithful classes, where's the faith? Deities are often little more than a framing device, and this is absolutely true in 5th edition. You can basically, I'm not going to say ignore your deity, but for the most part, Paladins don't even technically have to have a deity. I believe that's in a response somewhere from either Mike Merles or Jeremy Crawford, that like you don't have to have a true divine patron to be a paladin. You can just kind of worship the oath, have just these tenets that let you be a paladin. I'm a life cleric of the Thander, a player remarks, before rarely, if ever, referring to the character's patron deity again. Dungeon Masters are sometimes guilty of falling into the same pattern. They occasionally threaten the anger of a cleric's deity or the disappointment of a paladin's chosen god or goddess in an already crucial moment, but too often these mysterious beings are less a living part of Forgotten Realms campaign and more like monster stat blocks ready to be pulled out only in the most convenient occasions. The goal of this project was to make small efforts to address most of these issues for players and DMs who want to take divinities to the next level, blah, blah, blah. So grab your holy symbol, take up your shield, say your prayers, open the pages, and set up the grand broad that spans time and planes uncountable. It's time to play. So, the whole first chapter, basically, is information about the deities. And if you don't know, there's like a tagline for each deity in the back of the player's handbook. If you have the Sword Coast Adventures Guide, there's a section in the front that's all about the deities in there. And then there are several resources online to get more information. You can watch videos, you can go to the Forgotten Realms wiki. But right, it starts off at the front with the calendar of Harptos. This is the calendar that is followed in the Forgotten Realms. So you can see there are 12 months like we have here on Earth. Here's what their Earth name equivalent is. So they have a name, Hammer, Alturiac, Chess, Tarsak, and so on. And they have different names like Deep Winter, the Claw of Winter, the Claw of Sunsets, the Claw of Storms, and so on. And then there are several holidays. They sort of are weird and take place in between months, so they sort of live in their own realm. Like here, Midwinter, between Hammer and Alturiac, so it's between January and February, also called Dead Winter Day, commonly a holiday acknowledging the harshest of winter. But then the spring equinox is the 19th of Chess. And you get the point as we go through here. So, then it talks about the various faiths and all of the deities in the Forgotten Realms and their holidays, and then backstory and story options for them. So, if you were, was this Akkadi? Akkadi is a primordial of water? Air. So it's less an actual god, but an elemental primordial of air. Still can be worshipped, but stuff about temples and shrine. Then you can see here, I spent part of my youth raised in the temple of Akkadi. The rotations of priests provided many parental figures until I was old enough to set on my own. You'll see that for everything. Also, I should point out that it has here in parentheses what the faithful of that deity are called. So this is Akkadian, is an Akkadi worshiper. And the reason I bring that up is because we'll get to a couple as we scroll through here where they are vastly different than what you would think. So, an Amanator is an Amanatori, an Oral is an Oralin. Makes sense. A Bane is a Banite, and a Zuth is an Azuthan. Those are pretty Bashaba, Bashaban, Shantea, Shantaean. But Corellon Larethian, I can never pronounce it, is the Elven Patron, a patron of all elves. They call themselves Tel'Kasir. So that's totally different. You wouldn't know. Someone who follows Danir is a Danirath. These are pretty simple. Grumbarin, Helmite. See, people who follow Ilmater are Ilmatari. So that's a little bit different. There's one that's a little bit different, which is Mask. Get down there. They're called Mascarin, which is not what I would imagine when you see Mask. But anyway, so and they got Moradin here. So we're going to scroll through these, right, because we've seen all of these. These are just, again, a little more information about the deities and background story events regarding them, so we don't need to look at that. All right, now, Chapter 2. This is the bulk where we saw the 50 cleric domains, 50 paladin oaths. So I'm not going to go through these because there's a ton. If we look over here and expand this chapter, you can see there's Akkadi, the air domain, the Oath of the Untamed Wind, and then spells. So this is an air domain for clerics, an oath for paladins, Amanator, Asmodeus, Auril, Azuth, Bane, Bashaba, Baal, Shantea. I didn't read Corellons there. Cyric, Danir, Eldath, Gond. Gond could be interesting, in my opinion, because Gond is the Wonder Maker. So he's like the inventor deity of the Forgotten Realms, so that's got to have some pretty cool stuff. But we're going to go to, because this is my video, and I'm only going to show you what I'm super interested in. So while I don't particularly like Ilmater, Jake is a huge fan who plays games here on the stream. My two favorite deities in the Forgotten Realms are... Also, I'm going to guess that Gueron is the ranger archetype. No, because there's a Grumbar. Now, one of them is a ranger archetype somewhere in here. Lyra, Loviatar, Malar, oops, Mask. Oh, there you get that one. So, Mieliki. So, I'm a huge fan of Mieliki and Tamura. So, I'm going to go over those two because they are the ones that I sort of identify with the most when it comes to Forgotten Realms and the deities. So, we're going to go through those together. So, we have the Divine Domain, the Heartwood domain of Mieliki. So our domain spells: Animal Friendship, Speak with Animals; Animal Messenger; Banish Blight, which is a new spell; Plant Growth, Speak with Animals; Conjure Woodland Beings; Tree Healing, another new spell; Commune with Nature; and Tree Strides. So for those of you who aren't aware, if you didn't figure that out from that, Mieliki is the goddess of forests, goddess of the natural world, and things of that nature. She's not the true goddess of nature, as Sylvanas is the god of nature. But Our Lady of Forests, Forest Queen, and so on. Those are the names she goes by. So at first level, you gain proficiency in the nature and medicine skills. You also get proficiency in the Sylvan language. You get Wooden Weapon at level 1. You spend 1 minute in prayer beside a tree, large branch, or log. The wooden object then expels a melee weapon of your choice that you are proficient with. This weapon is entirely made of steel hard wood. So this is a thing called iron wood in previous editions. So it's basically identical to its weapon, and it is made of wood, and it is supernaturally strong to be as strong as steel. It also acts as the holy symbol for the purposes of casting your cleric spells. Starting at 8th level, your attacks with this wooden weapon are considered to be magic. Pretty cool. Your channel divinity at level 2 is Feel of the Forest. By concentrating for 1 minute while standing in a forest, grassland, or swamp, you can channel the voice of the trees and other plants to learn about locations of interest around you. You learn the location of ruins, landmarks, or other major points of interest within a distance of 1 mile per cleric level. Gaining rudimentary information about these locations. In addition, you become aware of the general direction and distance of great unnatural evils within the area, such as blights, evil druids, evil lycanthropes, and so on. You rarely learn of individual evil creatures unless they possess great power. So that's pretty cool, very thematic, as are the spells. I'm digging the wooden weapon thing. I think that's pretty sweet. Sorry if my cam is blocking your view here. We'll shrink that down a little bit. Level 6, you get Channel Divinity Entanglement. When you damage a large or smaller creature with one of your cleric spells or an attack from your wooden weapon, you can Channel Divinity as a bonus action to cause vines or other plants to spring up from the ground and envelop it. The creature must make a strength saving throw or be restrained for 1 minute. On a success, the creature's walking speed is reduced by 10 feet until the end of its next turn. Any monstrosities, lycanthropes, or plant-type creatures with an evil alignment have disadvantage on this saving throw. A creature restrained by the vines makes a saving throw at the end of its turn. So this is very similar to an Ensnaring Strike ability or spell, but this does not use your... Oh, it is a bonus action. It is a Restrain, which I think the other one is Grappled, possibly. But if they succeed, their movement speed is still reduced. So that's a little bit of a benefit. We get Divine Strike, the 8th level cleric ability. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can choose to deal an additional d6 of the same type of damage dealt by the weapon. 14 and increases to 2d6. In addition, before you make an attack with your wooden weapon, you can choose to substitute your wisdom modifier for either the attack or damage roll in place of the normal ability modifier used for the attack. You must declare whether you will substitute your wisdom for the attack roll or damage roll before making the attack roll. So you get this at level 8. This sort of makes it a pseudo-shillelagh, if you will. And then you get Greyveil Chosen at level 17. You're truly chosen by Mieliki. While you are wielding the wooden weapon from your class feature, you can use it to make a weapon attack as a bonus action on each of your turns. Typically, clerics can only make 1 attack. This gives you the opportunity to make 2. Then we have a Paladin Oath here. Oath of the Shadowweir. Let's see. While the followers of Mieliki, joyful lovers of nature and valued healers, some of the Forest Queen worshippers turn down a darker path. Bum, bum, bum. Your tenets are halt their encroachment, break their mechanisms, plant life anew, and honor the Queen. Longstrider Stalk, Banish Blight, Heat Metal, Elemental Weapon, Plant Growth, Elemental Bane, Tree Healing, Transmute Rock and Tree Striding. You can see some of these are from Elemental Evil or Xanathars. Your Channel Divinity at level 3. You petition me illegally for aid as a bonus action. Half of all damage you sustain until the start of your next turn is a return to you as healing at the start of that turn. If you don't receive any damage during this time, you instantly receive temporary hit points equal to your Paladin level. That's nice because you don't actually lose it if you use your one Channel Divinity to do that. Or Green Knight Step. As a bonus action, you can Channel Divinity and spend 5 feet of movement to step into a tree adjacent to you and reappear at another tree within 100 feet of you. There must be another tree within 100 feet of you to use your Channel Divinity in this matter. That makes sense to me. Naturalist's Outrage. The Harbingers of so-called civilization strike the allies of nature. You are ready. When a friendly creature within 20 feet of you is struck by a metal weapon, you can expend your reaction to cast Heat Metal on the attacker using one of your Paladin spell slots of 2nd level or higher. You must maintain concentration on the spell to sustain its effects as if you had cast it normally. So this is a little bit of a break from the standard Paladin, which seems to be an aura type thing. This is more in line with the Oath of the Crown Paladin, which kind of has the, the aura, but it's not really an aura. And I would argue that, honestly, the Oath of the Ancients is very similar and is very Melee-y fitting. It has a lot of similar things going for it, but this is a little bit more specific here. There's Stonebreaker Gear Crusher at 15th level. When you use your Divine Smite feature, the damage increases by 1d8 when you hit an object or creature made of inorganic material, such as a construct. In addition, the damage of your Smite Spells is doubled against objects and structures. This is sort of similar to the way you get extra damage to Fiends and Undead as a Paladin, but this also basically gives you the Siege ability. And at 20th level, your Paladin Uber thing is Reclaimer. You use your action to become a fierce destroyer of objects and structures around you. You're considered a siege creature and deal double damage to objects and structures, but you already do that from your 15th level ability. Smite Spells, so this is all the time. When you cast Heat Metal, you can target a number of creatures within 30 feet of you, equal to your Charisma mod. The effect ends on all if you lose concentration. Beasts and plants within 60 feet of you aren't hostile to you. Gain advantage on all attack rolls for the duration, once per long rest. So here we can see the spells. We don't have a ton. We have 3. So we have Banish Blight, 2nd level spell. You touch a mundane plant that is burned, diseased, plagued with parasites, or similar natural detriments. The plants and all other creatures within a 100-foot radius are healed of the injury and are rid of their pestilence. Portions of the plant can be dead or dying and still receive the effect. However, plants that are entirely dead aren't affected. Alternatively, you can affect a plant-type creature with this spell. You can touch a willing plant creature and restore 3d6 hit points to it. You can also make a melee spell attack against a plant creature, dealing 3d6 radiant damage on a hit. You have advantage on this spell attack if the target creature is a Blight or a servant of the Glythias tree, and it scales up as you cast higher levels. Stalk is a 1st level abjuration spell, concentration up to an hour. You designate a target within range that you can see. While you maintain concentration on the spell, you are rendered nearly undetectable by this specific target. Your dexterity checks or stealth checks are made at a +10 bonus, and your scent and body heat become indiscernible to the target except by magical means. This spell ends if you lose concentration. Make a harmful attack against the creature, and for each spell slot, you lose the spell's effect on a target if it's out of sight for more than a minute. Additional targets. So this is sort of like a weird Pass Without Trace Hunter's Mark spell. Interesting choice. And then we have Tree Healing. You step into a tree whose trunk occupies a space approximately large enough to accommodate a medium creature. You meld into the tree, similar to a stone shape or a tree stride spell, along with all your equipment you're carrying while you maintain concentration. Up to a minute. Nothing of your presence is visible or otherwise detectable by non-magical means. While merged with the tree, you regain hit points equal to 1d8 plus your level, which is pretty solid, at the start of each of your turns. The maximum number of hit points you can receive from the spell is equal to half your hit point value. While merged with the tree, you can't see outside it, and any wizard perception checks to hear sounds are made at disadvantage. You remain aware of the passage of time, but you can't cast spells or perform anything else. Minor physical damage to the tree doesn't hurt you, but the partial destruction or change to its shape expels you and deals 66 bludgeoning damage. Tree's complete destruction expels you and deals 50 bludgeoning damage. If expelled, you fall prone in an unoccupied space closest to where you first entered the tree. So that was Mialiki. I was a fan more of the Cleric than I was of the Paladin. Interesting that the Cleric is a very physically oriented Cleric. I don't have anything specific against that. It was just interesting. And then we're going to jump down to Chime Mora, who is my other favorite god. So, I actually did a luck domain of myself. It's available for you guys to check out for free on nerdimmersion.com. So let's see how Chime Mora, Lady of Luck, Good Fortune, Lady who Smiles, and so on. Let's see what hers is. So, we have our domain spells, Deflection, which is, I think, a new one. Deflection, Heroism, Favor of Chime Mora, Free Will, Beacon of Hope, Boon of Fortune, Feet, interesting, Freedom of Movement, Bestow Enchantment, and Threefold Boon. So almost her spells are almost entirely new. You learn Guidance, that makes sense, as a bonus cantrip. And at first level, Luck Advantage. Whenever you gain advantage on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can use your reaction to grant an ally within 30 feet of you advantage on the same type of roll within the next minute. The benefactor of this luck can choose when to use it, but must decide before the outcome of the roll is known. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, regaining all uses after a long rest. That's actually pretty similar to what I chose. Target second level, you get Chime Mora's luck for your channel divinity. You can use your action to use your channel divinity to grant yourself or your allies a fraction of Chime Mora's luck. For 1 minute, you can use your reaction to roll a d20 whenever you or an ally you can see within 15 feet makes an attack roll or ability check. The creature can use the result of either roll for its attack or ability check. You can choose to use your channel divinity to grant the luck after a roll is made, but before the outcome is determined. 16, you get Stroke of Luck. Alternatively, blah, 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 blah. You can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on an attack roll that targets only you. Alternatively, if you are forced to make a dexterity saving throw, you can use your reaction to gain advantage on that roll. You can use this feature twice, regaining all uses at the end of a short rest. The number of uses increases as you gain levels to 3 at 11 and 4 at 16. That's weird. It's a weird ability and a weird way to do it. And I say it's not really if you read the base description. But as far as 5th edition is concerned, it's very non-typical. Extra radiant damage on your Divine Strike, and Luckbringer. At 17th level, whenever you start your turn and don't have any remaining uses of your Stroke of Luck feature, the one we just talked about, you regain round 1 use. I'm not a huge fan of this one. There's a lot of luck domains kicking around. We'll have to check out the spells and see what we think, but based on this, I'm not a huge fan. For Paladins, though, let's see. Paladin's my favorite class in 5th edition. Maybe they'll bring it back for me here. Oath of the Luckbringers. Luckbringers being high-level ranking members of the Chime Moran clergy, or another word for a worshiper of Chime Mora. Tenets are Chime Mora's luck never fails, fortune favors the bold, and place yourself in the hands of fate. All things that I've uttered as a Chime Moran cleric before. Battle Fate, Deflection, Favor of Chime Mora, Free Will, Boon of Fortune, Haste, which is nice to have, Freedom of Movement, Guardian of Faith, Skill Empowerment, and Steelwind Strike. That's beautiful. Love that spell. Alright, Channel Divinity, Chime Mora's Blessing. As an action, you raise your holy symbol and speak a prayer, asking Chime Mora to favor you and up to 3 allies of your choice within 20 feet. For 1 minute, at the start of each affected creature's turn, it gains 1d4 to add to a d20 roll. And unspent die is lost at the end of a creature's turn. So it's sort of like a Bless Guidance combo, but they can choose when to use it. The number of allies you can affect increases. At 6th level, you can add half your proficiency bonus to the number of allies you can affect. For example, at 6th level, you can affect 4 allies, and at 9th level, you can affect 5. Turn Undead. As an action, present your holy symbol to turn undead. A turn creature must spend. So it's actually just straight up turn undead. Okay. 7th level, Chime Mora's Boon. When your Chime Mora's Blessing Channel Divinity feature is active, the die increases to a d6, and the area in which you can select benefactors increases to 40. I don't like that at all, because typically a Paladin's 7th level ability is an always-on thing that you always have access to. This is something that keys off of your Channel Divinity at 3rd level, and is not an always-on thing. It's only when you can use that, and you can only use your Chime Mora's Blessing Channel Divinity once per short rest. At 15th level, you just deal an extra d4 radiant damage on all hits. That's not bad. And then at 20th level, Avatar of the Luckbringer is an action to transform for 1 minute. The range of Chime Mora's Blessing Channel Divinity increases to 60 feet, and the die increases to a d8. Again, very specific, only if you still have access to that. Your battle blessing damage increases to a d6. Okay, extra d6 isn't bad because you're already doing an extra d8 from your 11th level Paladin ability. And when using your turn undead Channel Divinity, undead with a less than a CR4 that fail are destroyed. So this makes you on par with a cleric. I'm not keen on that. Let's check out the spells. Battle Fate. Bonus action, concentration up to a minute. You can grant one creature you can see within range 3d6s that it can add to its attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws, or damage rolls before the duration expires. A die can be expended, only one per roll after a roll is made. I don't care. Bestow Enchantment. This spell is an exception to the rule of only casting one non-cantrip spell a turn. When you cast a spell that has a range of self, you can use your bonus action to cast this spell and touch a creature and affect it instead. If the spell requires concentration, you must maintain your concentration as normal for that creature to gain the benefits of the spell. Boon of Fortune. A creature touched gains proficiency with all weapons, including improvised weapons, and tools for the duration. In addition, the recipient gains double the proficiency bonus with any tools and ability checks with which they're already proficient. Though the caster could gain the benefits of the spell, it's considered sinful by the faithful of Tamura to do so. It's a lot for a 3rd level spell, or it's not a lot rather, for 1 minute to give people proficiency in weapons. It seems kind of silly. Deflection. This sounds promising. One action, you cause a shield of shimmering force to appear. Ranged attacks have disadvantage against the affected creature. In addition, it gains a +1 bonus to AC against melee attacks. Not bad, but I'd prefer shield if that was an option, because that's way better. Favor of Tamura. This looks like it's going to be something similar to a wizard's, divination wizard's portent. You receive, the recipient gains 3d20s that I can use when needed when it rolls. A d20 to make an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can roll one of the d20s granted by the spell as the result instead. The creature can choose to use the roll after rolling the first die, but before knowing the outcome. Once the second die is rolled, you can choose to use either result. Only one extra die can be used on any one check. Once it's rolled, it's expended. Feat. Touched recipient can automatically succeed no matter the difficulty on one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw of its choice until the end of its next turn. If the feat isn't used by the end of the creature's next turn, it's lost and the spell ends. That's a lot for a 4th level spell. Free Will. You touch and end one mind-affecting condition affecting the target. You can end the charmed, frightened, paralyzed, or stunned condition. I believe. Does that just make it hit the ones that you can't end with lesser restoration? And then you have Threefold Boon. 5th level spell. Lasts for 3 rounds. Kind of weird. The recipient gains double advantage on 3 ability checks and saving throw. Ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws. It makes. When using this benefit, the recipient rolls 2 extra d20s and uses the highest of all 3. I don't want to talk down to the whole article because there are some really good ones in there. It just so happens that I picked my 2 favorite and they weren't great for me. Perhaps your favorite deity in here is more to your liking. So let's skip ahead to chapter 3, which is the holy texts. It has a holy text for every deity, and we can kind of scroll through and you can see all the different names. The names are kind of italicized and there's what's in the text. So here's the Ilmater's Tome of Torment. This grimly named item resembles a squarish bundle of horsehair. Though book-shaped, the bundle is actually a woven hair tunic with an interior lined with metal barbs. When an initiate of Ilmater wears the shirt for at least a day, the writing hidden in the tunic appears on the front of it. Sometimes called the Hair Shirt Tome, the Tome of Torment was purportedly brought to the world in the mid-800s by the deity himself. Since then, it has disappeared and reappeared randomly throughout the world, and it's believed by the Ilmatari to be one of the most holiest relics for spreading the example of Ilmater's suffering. So we can skip ahead from that to magic items. So we have a whole bunch of different magic items. I read through all of them. There's some pretty cool ones out there. I'm trying to see if I find one that really stuck out to me. There's holy wafers somewhere kicking around. Is it a holy wafer? Yeah, if you eat it, the next spell you cast is treated as if you spent a spell slot 1 level higher. But it's a wafer, so you eat it and it's destroyed. And then the greater holy wafer is 2 levels higher, and then there's the sanctified holy wafer, wafer, which you cast at 3 levels higher. And there's a mixture of different things, stuff specific to deities and otherwise not so much. And then lastly, we have Holy Artifacts is the last piece here. So, these unique items hold great power, and they all have this new artifact, Power Overwhelming. Basically, an overwhelming artifact causes a creature in its possession to regain half the normal number of hit dice after a long rest. In addition, at the end of a long rest, there's a 50% chance the creature gains a level of exhaustion. Levels of exhaustion gained by overwhelming artifacts aren't rested by healing, and no spells short of a wish spell can remove them. Creature wielding an overwhelming artifact can that has charges associated with it immediately gains one of these special levels of exhaustion. Note that the artifact that already has a specific curse with it is less likely to possess this property. So there are certain items here, and I am a little disappointed that there isn't an item for every deity here. For example, the 2 I mentioned, Chime Mora and Mieliki, don't have specific items here. Some things are like wondrous items with some pretty crazy abilities, but then like Duty's Bond is Torm's magic Holy Avenger Greatsword, but it also sheds sunlight. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. There's not there's a lot here in the artifact section, but they're very specific to the deity. So that is it, guys. That is my review, my half-hour long review of Faiths of the Forgotten Realms. I didn't want to, like I said, I didn't want to dive too much into any one thing. You can see there's a full written index here in the back. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Does this make you want to go pick up a copy of Faiths of the Forgotten Realms? Again, it is $15 on the DM's Guild, so it's a little pricier. So I'm curious what you guys think. Did my review influence you one way or another to pick it up? Were you planning on picking it up anyway, and this helped? If there's something you didn't like in the book or didn't like the way I described it, and you want to see if you can't get it updated, please leave it in the comments below so I can point the creators to those comments to say, hey, some people on my channel are saying they like this, they don't like that, so that they can continue to incorporate that in future updates or future products as well. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.